Hello, Drilla. Hello, Daniel. I am going to be doing some dot work here, and I'll be kind of just talking about what I'm doing in real time. If anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to drop that down below. Kind of just mapping out where I'm going to be placing the dots so I don't lose track of that. Now for YouTube, I'm not sure if it's okay, if the audio is okay, or if it's blurry. Please let me know. I appreciate everyone who's watching on TikTok. If it's blurry or it's hard to hear me, please let me know. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm adding the first layer of dots in these areas here. Kind of just mapping out where the dots are going to go, and then I'm going to go over with some shading. If anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to ask. No, that's a good question. I can do, so how I do this is my first layers are typically always dots, as you see me doing here. I like to get a consistent layer of dots, and then after I do that, I go over with some whip motions. Um, Probably for around 3.5 years, four, maybe going on 4 now, somewhere in that time frame, amongst other things as well. Okay, I appreciate the feedback. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad that it's fine. I'm kind of using a sort of like 5 point motion here to get these dots going, and then after that I'm going to use a series of whip motions after that. Bear with me. Hey Sonny, thank you. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you very much. That's awesome to hear. I'm glad that you've been with me for so long. That really means a lot. I appreciate the support. How is your tattoo journey going right now, Sonny? I haven't tried the Da Vinci, no, but it's funny because I've been eyeing them. I've been wanting to, so I may try them soon. I may pick up a couple. I'm going to be picking up some Intense black labels soon. That's what I want to use for human skin. So I'm going to pick up some black label. I'll do a review on that as well. I haven't been live for too long. Hello, Danica. Welcome back. I've probably been live maybe for about 5 minutes now. Not too long. I can't say for sure. Actually, 6 minutes and 32 seconds. My fault. So around 6 minutes or so. I'll be live for a bit, answer questions, and kind of share my process with you all. If no one has questions, I'm just going to kind of talk about what I'm doing here real time. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah, me too. I love the entire process of tattooing. I've grown a little bit. At first, it really wasn't like that. It was really rough for me at first. Like at the first early stages, learning the lining, the shading. I never thought that I'd be doing dot work or shading, let alone be here with you all tattooing live. It's crazy. It's something. This is all new to me too. I'm not really good with the whole live thing. I still don't know what like parameters are. I may miss some questions or pop-ups or something like that. And if I do, I don't mean to. I apologize. I genuinely appreciate everyone's support. I'm just genuinely new to this whole streaming thing. This is my second time going live. I'll get better as I go. So like right now what I'm doing is I'm laying down the first layer of dots. I don't want them too spaced far apart, and I don't want them too close as of yet. So I'm just putting down the first layer like that, and then we're gonna make them a bit more saturated. That's basically how that's gonna go down there. Yeah, definitely. When we start off, it's pretty tough, but one day we wake up and we have that light bulb moment and things start clicking. That's when it really gets interesting and fun, I feel. Hey, I'm just Taurus. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad. I'm grateful that I'm able to help you in a better direction. Um, yeah, that's awesome to hear. How long have you been tattooing? Right now, I like a lot of different cartridges. I like Amala. I like Quill. I do like CNC. I like Inklaw. I like OG Produce is awesome as well. There's quite a few different needles that I like. I like a lot. If I had to pick like my top three, I would definitely say probably Ink Claw, OG Produce, and excuse me, maybe Amala. Maybe those three for sure are gonna be my top. And then CNC Quill, maybe even Quill. Quill has to be top three. It's really hard. I don't know. I like a lot of different needles, but those are gonna be some of my top favorites. I have more reviews on different needles as well coming for you all, so I'll go ahead and kind of update you all with that. I have printers as well. I'm going to be doing a giveaway for a printer soon too. How do you get different saturations of dot work? Would you do that in shading and stuff? So different saturations of dot work, that's actually a good question. I'm actually at that point in the road right here. So you can see, for example, I have the first layers done right here. And this isn't by any means perfect, I understand that, but I'm still, the tattoo will still read well, hopefully when I'm done. But here I have the first layer of dots. What I'm going to do is I'm now ready to kind of start adding saturation. Where I'm going to add saturation is from these areas going down this way, as you can see, like these right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to apply shading. I'm going to start right here and start with this first layer, and then after that I'm going to continue creating whip motions. I'm going to kind of follow the flow of the pattern here. I want each line that I'm creating consistent to the next and neighboring one another well as my pixels, the dots that I'm creating similar, spaced apart evenly. I don't want them, scattered. That's how we get inconsistent patchy results. You can kind of see just from that one pass right there, I'm starting to accomplish shading and saturation here. Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, I love Amala. I used some Amalas not too long ago on a little bee. I think it was a bee tattoo. I used a one round liner for some details on the bee. I actually have a video on that. Just a week on face skin, having some issues with my lines. Hey, oh, okay, Andres. I hear that. what issues do you think you're experiencing when it comes to tattooing on the fake skin? Um, in terms of cams, I don't necessarily change them. So, like, let's say for example, if the machine came with a four, then I'll probably be using a four. I don't really ever change them unless I'm looking for a sort of specific setup. But typically, I don't. I think I've changed the cam a few times on a couple of my CNC machines from 3.5s to 4, but no, not often. I don't change them. I do like to use a 3.5 or 4. If I had to pick one, I probably would go with a 4 just because of the lining. It hits harder for lining, so I'm going to be able to be in and out when it comes to lining. And then with shading, I'm getting to a point where I feel really comfortable using just the very tip of the needle, so I can kind of work up and layer my shading even with the 4. So I feel like a 4 would probably be good for me now. However, when I first was kind of getting comfortable with technique and all of that, I did use a 3.5 just because it felt more at home to me. Sorry for not being able to answer all the questions here. Bear with me here. Are you shooting with a liner? Yes, I'm still using a liner. Nothing has changed here. I'm still using the CNC Police 3-round liner. First ever. Hello, Das. Let me see here. Renjoy, are you getting the tattoo or are you doing the tattoo? Sorry if I'm misunderstanding. I apologize. Hey Logan, I appreciate you joining. I appreciate the support. Thank you for the lightning bolts as well. I'm glad you're joining. I'm glad that you recognize that. Yeah, I'm new to the whole live thing. This is my second live, so I'm trying to see how it goes here. I appreciate you joining and I appreciate your support. Thank you. Hey Project Monarch. For shading, it just depends. If you're really going for a smooth sort of shading, for me, let's say if I'm going to be doing a sort of shading where I do want to get smooth results, I probably would be using a gray wash. For this right here, for example, I'm using straight black, but the only reason I'm using straight black is because this fake skin is really tough. It's true skin, fake skin. Although it's a great fake skin, it's a little bit more tough to accept the ink, so therefore I'm using straight black to help me kind of saturate a bit quicker. If this was going to be human skin, I would definitely be using a gray wash for much more smoother shade on human skin and different variations as well. But I feel straight black would work perfect for this application right here. Hey Logan, I'm grateful, man. I'm glad that my videos have been able to help you. Yeah, if you have any questions, Logan, please feel free to, let me know, drop a comment. I'll go ahead and answer questions here while I'm live. I'm just going to kind of explain what I'm doing here. I hope that the audio is okay in the video. I want to create consistent strokes here. So that way I get a consistent motion. My thought process is this. I can't expect consistent results if I'm not moving with consistency. So I'm working off just the very tip of this 3-round liner so that way I can accomplish not only saturation, but doing that while getting smooth results. So this is exactly the process that I will take. It is the same process that I will take on human skin as well. Uh, Rinjoy, in terms of a black tattoo looking good on tan skin, I'm pretty sure that it will. Even like darker tone skin, I'm sure black tattoos would look great on there. I really think it's just depending on how the artist executes the tattoo. I've seen tattoos where the artist was kind of not going deep enough, didn't really fully understand needle depth, and the tattoos have a sort of faded appearance. This is going to be due to technical application, not really the skin. But yes, the black pigment can definitely pop on darker skin tones. Getting the tattoo. So in terms for healing, for me, whenever I get a tattoo, the way that I do, I mean, I would encourage you to follow your artist, recommendations. But if you find yourself in a position where you don't feel comfortable for whatever reason with their aftercare advice, I personally use, for my healing process, whenever I get a tattoo, I use a Sanoderm. So I'll get a tattoo and then I'll wrap it with Sanoderm. I'll leave it on for about 24 to 48 hours, sometimes even a little bit longer, just so that way the tattoo can get through the early stages of the healing process. I'll take it off about 24, 48 hours later, depending on the size, sometimes even a little bit longer. I've left larger size tattoos that I've done on myself I left the Sanoderm on for about maybe 3 days on those larger ones. So everyone's a little bit different. I've also even went as far as having an allergic reaction to Sanoderm. I kind of just pushed through it. It didn't really have a negative effect on my tattoo, but it was a little scary when I did get the reaction with Sanoderm. After that, though, I was able to use it. But me, I like to just put it on for about 2 or 3 days. After that, I take it off. I wash it with a non-scented soap. I let it air out, and I put very thin layers of ointment. It's essentially the process that I repeat until healed. I've never had any issues besides that. Forgive me if I'm falling behind on comments here. My apologies. Let's see. Do you count how many stroke motions? So let's see here. So with the count question, no, I don't really ever count how many strokes I'm using. What I do count, or I'm sorry, what I do pay attention to, and what kind of determines how many strokes I'm going to be using, is the space. So for example, I'm going to be shading from this side right here to this side over here. So instead of counting, I just kind of keep my eye on the space here, and that's basically what determines how many strokes I do per area. It's not a, I don't really use a number system or anything like that. And in terms of like layers, I don't really go over them the same amount of times either. I try to stay in the ballpark. What I do is just use my eyeballs and I'll kind of look at these tones and then repeat it on the other side and get really close. It may not be perfect, but close is kind of where we want to be. And then from here, I can kind of start figuring out how far I want these darker areas to come out. There we go. If you're just starting tattooing, I'm gonna call. I think it's. I don't know how to pronounce that name. I'm gonna call you Guy though. Guy, if you're just starting out, it says last month. I wouldn't recommend worrying about human skin anytime soon. I would recommend just taking your time and focusing on some fundamentals with the fake skin and kind of developing rapport and getting acquainted with just using the gear, how the needles behave. I would recommend doing that first before continuing to human skin. And I guess for multiple reasons, just so that we don't damage human skin, it creates discouragement within an artist. I don't recommend going that route. But using thin skins isn't necessarily bad because I remember when I first started too, I used thin fake skins and it wasn't anything that I was against. I feel like it really helped me with my needle depth. I feel like it really helped me understand needle depth a little bit better as well as hand speed to voltage. So a thin skin may not be bad. Real quick on a side note, everyone who's watching, I appreciate you all. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them here live. I am tattooing a piece of fake skin here. It's a torso size skin. So this is a large piece of skin as you can see right here. I'm applying the shading and the dot work. I'll kind of just talk about what I'm doing along the way. Uh, tr- Forgive me if I mispronounce anyone's name. It's definitely mine. Not. It's definitely not my intent. Um, Nilla Art. Did you use a round shader for thick lines? A round shader for the thick lines? No. I did use a round shader to build them, but this was a line that was heavier than any configuration that I had available to me. So I did use, if I'm correct, like a 18 round shader or a 14 round shader, some sort of heavier round shader. I think it was either 11, 14, or 18. And then I kind of sculpted these lines in there. So I would do one half of it, and then I would do the other half with the round shader and kind of build up the entire tattoo that way. So that's how I created these thicker lines. Honestly though, Rinjoy, it's really hard to mess up a tattoo after infection. I think that if there's like any sort of like maybe like animals and maybe they if they lick like the tattoo or something like this, like we really have to go out of our way to get an infection. Um, it's not often that it happens, and it's not something that's like easy for it to happen either. I know that that may sound counterproductive from what we heard, but we really, as a person who has a tattoo and people who are healing with tattoos, we really have to go out of our way to get an infection. I wouldn't really worry about it too much if you can like, especially if you can like wash it, if you get like non-scented soap, if you have your moisturizer ready and all of that, you'll be perfectly fine. I would just recommend getting all of that beforehand. Like get your ointment, like Aquifer or something like that, and then your unscented soap. I would recommend like Dr. Bronner's unscented soap. It's like a sort of like baby blue color. I would recommend that soft soap for washing. That one's really good. Yeah, exactly what Monarch said. You would want to keep it moisturized and clean. And I just use a very thin layer of ointment. When I first got my tattoos, I was like I guess, compensating for. I guess I overthought the process too. So I understand like where you're at. I overthought the process a lot, and when I did, I would put a lot of ointment. So if I had to say anything, is just don't saturate it with like too much ointment. That's not what you want to do. You want to put a very thin layer, a very thin layer. Like you shouldn't be able to tell that there's ointment on there. It should just look kind of shiny. You should just be able to feel it on there. It shouldn't look clumpy or anything like that. For those who are joining, I appreciate you. For those who are showing support, I'm genuinely grateful. Thank you very much for joining. This is, I think, my second live stream, so I'm grateful to have you. I'm very new to this also. Please forgive me for any mistakes I may make, whether it's my speech or something like that. Just bear with me. I'm going to get used to this whole live streaming. Yeah, of course, Rinjoy. I'm here to help any way that I can. I was really paranoid, not paranoid really, but I was really scared too when I first started getting my tattoos. The process can be easily overthought, and especially the healing process. But I think that you'd be in good hands, especially if you just get your soaps and your ointments beforehand. Keep it clean, stuff like that. I try not to sweat either. Like when I get tattoos, I try not to let if I'm doing something like open activities, I try not to let it get uh, sweaty or anything like that. Just basic stuff like that. Let me see. Monarch, if I'm practicing on fake skin, doesn't matter if sanitary supplies. I know it's better to practice. What do you mean, like all sanitary supplies? I'm not sure I fully understand. So before I answer, I want to make sure I fully understand. For me, even when I practice on fake skin, I kind of treat the entire process as if it were a real client. So I try to like, deviate from what I would normally do in a real session. I kind of would just go through the whole process as if it were kind of a simulation, the real deal. That's how I would approach it. Right now, I'm adding another layer of dots using the 5-point method. I did do some shading, but I think that some dot work would look a little nice here. So that's a couple of layers of dots and layers of shading to create this look here. At this point, I'm kind of asking myself if I want to go darker here, if I want to leave them with a gradual kind of fade going the way that it is here. Will the Beast, it says here, when pushing a bigger liner or larger needle grouping, is it best to up the bolt? That's a good question. So let's say if I were using, what can I use? Maybe like a 45 round shader or an 80, like Ink Claw has these round shaders that go up to even 111. If I'm pushing these configurations that are heavy and line weight like this, I do tend to actually raise my voltage, or I will compensate by tremendously slowing my hand down. I think it just kind of depends on the route that I would want to take. If I want to be more careful and I'm scared to like kind of wobble out of place, then I'll just typically take the voltage down and move a lot slower to prevent any mistakes. If the line or the design isn't too big and I'm feeling confident, then I will, higher the voltage up. It just really depends on the application. But I do naturally tend to higher the voltage a little bit when I am using heavier line weights. And then it's also the same in reverse. I tend to lower the voltage as well when I am using smaller line weights. Hey, 5150. Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. Dylan Gallegos. Right now, I am using an OG Produce tattoo machine. I'll bring an in-depth review on it. I'm kind of finalizing some last opinions that I have on it here for you all, but I'm using an OG Produce tattoo machine. I don't know the name off the top. For that, I apologize, but it is a 4 millimeter stroke tattoo machine. I'm running at 5 volts. I've been running at 5 volts here this entire time. I don't really feel the need to fluctuate. It's doing me pretty good here. I like the way that this is reading. It's coming out clean so far. Excuse me. Whenever you use fake skin and you're wiping excess ink off, could you get away with just a paper towel and water? Are you using that? That's a good question, Monarch. So, excuse me. Sorry, I have something in my throat. Forgive me for that. For okay, what I'm using here is just simple petroleum jelly. So it is basically just, I'm not sure if you can see that or if that does it justice, but it's just an ointment. It's just simple petroleum jelly. And I put it on before and after. So I put it on before to kind of help the ink stay better and more situated as I'm applying the ink. And then I wipe away and it helps remove any of the excess that was there. And I kind of repeat. If we can get away using water and a paper towel, the paper towel may work, but the water won't. I wouldn't use water. That would just kind of be more of a messy process. And I'm not sure how the fake skin would react to the constant water, because the fake skin kind of opens and cuts, and fake skin doesn't heal like human skin. So I don't see any good results coming from using water. That's just my opinion. I could definitely be wrong, and I'm open to being wrong about that. But I wouldn't use water. I don't recommend that. It's definitely a good question. I'm using just simple petroleum jelly. 5150. Yeah, I appreciate that. I thank you for the support. I'm sorry for moving the cameras, but I thank you for the support, 5150. I greatly appreciate it. That's a good question, Monarch. Now, whether or not it's good for human skin, I'm not sure. I can't be too sure on that question specific. I do know, however, a lot of artists do tend to use petroleum jelly, To each their own. I'm not, I don't have anything against petroleum jelly. I like to just use petroleum jelly on fake skin because it's more cost effective and it does the exact same thing. However, I have seen artists use petroleum jelly on human skin. I personally prefer to use ink ease on a human skin, and then when it comes to just fake skin, I use petroleum jelly. And then the same thing with even napkins. So when it comes to napkins for fake skin, I tend to use these blue Scotch Shop wipes. Where human skin, I'll use MD wipeouts, which is a sterilized napkin or sterilized wipe. And again, everyone's different. I've also seen people just use these blue Scotch Shop wipes on human skin. It's totally fine if that's how they wanted to approach it. Yeah, I understand. That's exactly how I was. I kind of like created my own little PDF of everything that I needed, why I needed it, what I was gonna do, what I needed out of my machines. I did all of that when I first started. I kind of like uh, tattooing was something that I was very passionate about as soon as I started it, and it's kind of just been that way ever since. I remember even at one point, like early on, with my Daniel Yuck YouTube channel, or the YouTube channel, I remember I was creating videos, and I think I was already maybe like 100 videos in or so. I was up there. I was maybe like 70 to 100 videos in, maybe even a little bit more. And I remember I only had like maybe 26 subscribers. Um, and it was just something that I remember. I think back often. I kind of just remember waking up one day and things were a little bit different, creating content, and then over the time of creating videos and content and doing more tattoos, trying different styles of mandalas, just trying to progress in general with tattooing. I ended up just developing a passion and a love for it. I even developed like a passion and love for content creating in general. Right now I'm using a series of whip motions to get saturation, and I want to get a gradual shade going from this way to this way. I'm going to kind of do the same thing from this side to that side there. For those who have been watching, I appreciate the support. For those who are tuning in or just maybe tuning in now, I appreciate you joining. If anyone has any questions at all, please don't hesitate to drop a comment. So from here, I feel like maybe another layer of dots right around here is going to be good. And then I'm going to use a series of whip motions from here going that way to create a shade there. I'm not sure if you're still in here, Project Monarch, but have you started tattooing? Yeah, 5150. If you have any questions at all specific, please, again, feel free to let me know. I'll do my best to assist. I'm not saying or I don't mean to suggest what I tell you is the right way or only way, but what I can do is share my experiences with you and show you how I go about getting certain results. No, so, okay, that's awesome. Tattoo tips for beginners. Oh, that's good. That's actually a really good place to start. It's cool that you're not rushing into it as well. I think one of the best things that we can do, especially when we're first starting, is being patient with the process and figuring out what we want out of it, how we want to do our tattoos, even let alone what kind of designs we're going to start with. All of that really matters. So from here, I'm going to do shading right here and then right here. Kind of just creating boundaries and mapping out where I'm going to shade here. Once I get the first layer down, then I'll start extending it with longer motions. I want each motion to be consistent to the neighboring line that I create, and I want my pixels, the spaces in between each dot I lay out, to be just about the same, which means I have to keep at the same speed as best I can for any sort of consistency. So from here, I'm going to get a little bit of petroleum jelly and then wipe away and see where we are at. Okay, that's fantastic. It's really a slow process. I'm going to make a smaller stroke so I can darken this area up a little bit more here. Everyone watching, I appreciate you. For those who have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment. I appreciate the support everyone is showing me here. I genuinely do. Thank you very much. Hey, hookah tips for beginners. I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly. If I appreciate the super thanks. Thank you very much. I don't know if the name is hookah. This is my second stream, so please forgive me. I feel a bit silly right now, and again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name or not getting the name right. My genuine apologies. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much, though. Anyone watching right now struggling with shading? I'm doing a little bit of cross hatching for a little bit more saturation as well, but to smooth things out. There we go. How do I do this reading? The tips for beginners. Hookah tips for beginners. I'm not sure if that's the full name or... It says, let's celebrate for the first Super Thanks on Live. Hookah Tips for Beginners was my first Super Thanks on Live. I'm genuinely grateful. I'm not sure what that fully entails, but I'm genuinely grateful for the Super Thanks. I'm assuming since it's my second time going live, it's the first person to send me a Super Thanks, maybe? I have a lot to learn about going live and the platforms. I'm working off just the very tip of the needle as well. I'm kind of just using like brush-like motion, so to speak. So that way I can use layers and really work this up to get a smooth gradual fade here, or shade going. For those who are watching, I'm genuinely grateful for your support. Thank you for tuning in. For those who've been here, I'm grateful for your continued support. Thank you very much. Another good way to that I practice a lot is using my tattooing workbooks. I'll use those every time, or just about every day. I'll do a little warm-ups with like lining practice, my tattoo journal volume 1, 2, and 3. I'll do like some shading. I notice too, even like when I get like the flu and I get a bit sick where I'm not fully able to work and I'm not fully myself, I can always lay there and do a little bit of work within my tattooing workbooks. So I'm able to get a lot of practice in with those as well. I feel like that's reading nicely there. I'm going to kind of continue. I want these a little bit darker here, and then I'm going to kind of continue applying them meticulously here. In a bit, I can give you all a top view of what I have going here. I'm going to do a little bit of cross-hatching as well to kind of start smoothing things out there. I may even have like a sort of gradual change as they go up this way, where these get darker and these are a little bit lighter, like each step going down. Something like that. I think that'd be cool. If anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to drop a comment down below. I appreciate the support. I appreciate everyone watching. Thank you all for tuning in here. I'm doing some cross hatching there, some light brush motions to get another layer. So typically when I start on one end, as you saw there, I'll want to go all the way across and add the layer as consistently as I can. So that way that's another tone down. Right now, the needle that I'm using is a CNC Police 3-round liner. And then from here, I'm going to go back up here. I appreciate the follow. Thank you. Hey, Fudge, I appreciate you. Hey, Dennis, what's up, man? Appreciate you joining, Dennis. How are you? So essentially what I'm doing here is layering this up until I've reached the level of saturation that I'm happy with. I'm probably going to do just one more layer and then kind of just bring this down. How do you know you've gone deep enough into the skin? That's a good question. Let's see here. Sorry for questions that I missed here. Deep enough into the skin, how I know is when my dots show up in the manner that I'm applying them, or my lines. So like if I'm trying to line with a 14 round shader and I need to capture that needle integrity size, by the time I'm done applying the line, I can kind of see where I was deep enough, where I wasn't, if I was too deep. All that kind of does show up. Although it's not a substitute for a human skin, it does let us know. It is kind of like a good gauge to see where we are at with it all. Have I tried the new needles from Drago Art? Yes, the Fraudage tattoo needles I have, yes. I like them so far. I think they're okay. I haven't tried them enough. Well, actually, no, I've used them quite a bit. I think that they're okay. On a scale, I guess 1 through 5, I would probably give them about maybe a 3.8 or a 4. They're not in my top needles, but they're not bad either. They're pretty cool. They're something that I would use. Like I've used them many, many times. I think I've only had issues with like one needle, but I think that that was on my end because uh, I think I may have damaged the needle somehow when I was tattooing. I think I was demonstrating in a video and I kind of pressed down hard on the needle and damaged the tips of it. So that could have been user error. But all in all, they're okay needles. Hey, Cozy Arts, I appreciate you. What's up, man? Oh wow, you started learning mags today. How long have you been tattooing? Dana. Hey, Dana. I haven't met Dave yet. No, I haven't. I don't know if he's like in his own shop or anything. I haven't asked about that or anything. So I haven't met him personally yet. No. Maybe soon though. It'd be cool to be able to meet up with Dave. Maybe even tattoo in a shop with him. But no, unfortunately, I have not met up with him as of yet. We do stay connected from time to time though. Let me see here. Just woke up at 7 a.m. here in Austria, but can't. Hey, that's awesome. That's where you're at right now. It's 7 a.m. where you're at right now? That's awesome, man. Yeah, right now where I am, it is 12:05. Started on fake skin in August, so a little over a month now. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. I remember the beginning of my journey. I remember the first time using fake skin. I think I even still have some snippets of the very, very first line I ever pulled on fake skin. I'll have to dig deep and see if I can find them. If I do, I'll post them in my short section. Yeah, it's good to have you, Dennis. Thank you for joining. I'll go ahead and give you a follow after this, Dennis. Everyone who's followed me, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate your support. I'm using a series of whip motions, and right now I'm putting a layer here because I want this a little bit more saturated, and I did that with cross hatching just to help smooth it out as well. Oh, I appreciate the feedback on the design. In terms of the needle, I just feel more comfortable using a 3 round liner. I start with a series of dots first, and then after that I go ahead and I add shading, but it does take a bit longer. I just like the results that I'm able to accomplish, and I like the accuracy of how I can deposit. I just feel like I have more control with a 3 round liner versus a mag. So for this area, I'm going to go ahead and begin applying the first layer of dots, and then after that I kind of begin to apply the shading and then another layer of dots if needed. I think that I wouldn't be able to also get this sort of look with the mag, and this sort of look I guess is important to my design here. I'm going for this sort of look, so therefore I feel like a 3 round liner would be a better approach. I think a couple people asked me why I'm not using a mag. It's actually a very valid question, considering the size of the tattoo. Let's see here. Bear with me. Let's see. Logan, for the thicker lines, what needles do you use, or do you still fill it out? Okay, so for the thicker lines, if I remember correctly, I used a 18 round shaders and 14 round shaders. So I would basically do one line, and then I would do it the same way I normally would, creating any other line, and then I would just go to the other side and then do the other side. And then if I needed to kind of fill in any other area, I'll just patch that up as needed. But I did use a 14 round shader and an 18 round shader to create these thicker lines. We can use anything though. If you felt more comfortable with like an 11 round liner, you can do that. I think it's really going to be personal preference and to each their own. Right now though, what I'm doing is I'm creating a layer of dots, and then after this I will typically use a series of whip motions as we did over here and finalize it, maybe go over it with another layer of dots in certain places. But this is essentially the process that I'm taking to do this here that you see me doing. Bear with me for just a moment. If there's any comments or questions coming in, I will go ahead and get to them here. I kind of just want to finish this area with the dots. On the areas that I feel are a bit too open and sparse for me, I'll go ahead and manually apply a dot there. Other than that, I kind of stick to the 5 points as much as I can. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of ointment, wipe away, and this is the first layer. So now I have a good foundation to work from. From here, I'm going to begin to use a series of whip motions, so that way I can kind of begin to build these shades up right here. That's basically where I'm at right now. Let's see. It says here, one thing I've noticed with the mag versus the real iron shitting has been you get a more graphic. Yeah, I would agree. With a mag, you can get a kind of like a sort of like soft, realistic look. I've noticed that as well. Where with 3-round liners, it's always a sort of like textured look. It always has a sort of textured look, even when it's like really smooth and cleanly applied. Both still look great. I think it's really going to be like a personal preference on what the artist wanted to apply or how they wanted to execute the technique. What I'm going to do here is apply a series of whip motions here, going up. I'm going to create the first layer here, and this is where I want the saturation to come off of. So that's going to be the first layer, and then I'm going to use a series of longer motions. Dante off topic here. It says, off topic, but will you make a video showing how to bring tattoos all together when making a suit? Yeah, that's actually a very good video concept. I can definitely do that. It's very similar to creating this bodysuit that I created here. That's something that I can definitely do. It involves a bit of composition and other variables. I think it would be a little bit much to kind of talk about live, but I'll definitely break that down into more consumable points. Basically just show the process that I would take. That's a good recommendation. I appreciate that. I'm just using a series of consistent motions here to get this shading going, and then I want to clean this off to kind of see where we're at. So that's the first layer right there. I'm going to continue building that up until I get it very similar to these right here. You know, Danik, that is so true. It's also like Cozy said, it is a relief, but it's very time consuming. Yeah, it is. One thing that fake skin has taught me, that's for sure, is how to be patient. So at the very least, I'm definitely not rushing any of my human skin tattoos. But yeah, fake skin can definitely be tougher to work with. As I mentioned here many times too, this fake skin right here is very, very tough to work with. So I find myself having to go over and over and over. However, the process is something that I enjoy. So I'm not looking to, rush or I have no urgent need to want to finish quickly. And I kind of approach every single tattoo like that, just for the best quality results that I can provide. I want to produce those. So from here, I'm going to use a little bit of cross hatching Yeah, but I'm also thankful about that too. The fact that human skin is easier to work with. I found it really easy to kind of like adjust to human skin, like all of the techniques I learned on fake skin. It wasn't really too hard to transition and apply them to human skin. And then once I found out how accepting human skin was, I wasn't really as afraid of it as I once was. We all go through that. I feel that nervous phase where we're scared to tattoo human skin. I'm still running at 5 volts. I do like these sort of textured results though. I wouldn't take any other approach just based on the results that I'm getting now. I'm very happy with these results. I do like that sort of like dot peppered. I do like that sort of dot peppered look. It looks really clean to me and really smooth. It's just really time consuming. It'd probably take a little less time on a human skin. However, even if I were to do a bodysuit on human skin, a tattoo of this size would take a good while. I plan on putting like maybe hot gluing this piece of fake skin to like a large canvas. I have a larger black canvas that I've had here, and I think that it's the same size as this too, or a little bit bigger. So I was thinking about hot gluing this when I'm done to that and kind of having it just for like display. So that's kind of another reason why I want to take my time and have this come out perfect, or the best that I can get it. It's not by any means perfect. Bear with me here. I'm wearing a sweater and it is a bit warm, so I'm going to remove that, but I have to deglove first. Bear with me here. I appreciate everyone joining. Thank you all. I run coat often, but right now I was getting a little warm, so. Let's see here. Any tips on drawing every day? Um, on draw, like, what do you mean, like creating designs? Is that what you mean? Like creating your own designs? If that's what you're talking about, do you use an iPad or do you do everything like on paper? Yeah, I agree. I agree, Cozy. That's one thing that I kind of prioritize all of my tattoos. I really kind of prioritize taking my time and finding a consistent tempo and kind of staying there the entire way. All right, Logan, I'll see you later, man. By the way, shoot, give all the Patreon a shot. That's actually a good suggestion, Dennis. Deja vu, definitely. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. What's the difference between stippling and the difference between stippling and I don't really. I mean, I don't notice much of a difference. I think the only real, I guess, action or difference that I would say is that I would have to maybe slow down a slight bit just to let the needle make the rounds a little bit more. That's probably maybe the worst that it would get or the only real fluctuation. For me, 4 volts is okay to shade. Um, I think with 4 volts we could probably get like a bit of a softer shade as well. So like, let's say if we're needing to do a little bit more layers, then maybe with 4 volts we can possibly get a little bit more time to work on the skin. At least for me, that's how I would look at it. I do find myself lowering my voltage down to 4 volts sometimes, depending on what I'm doing and what I'm trying to go for or what I'm practicing. I'm just using brush motions here, like the very tip of the needle here, and kind of extending out that shade. It's essentially my goal here right now. I'm wiping with petroleum jelly. Deja Vu, yes, CNC Police cartridge. I'm using petroleum jelly. It's not alcohol or water. It's a just simple petroleum jelly. It's like an ointment. It does the trick. Do a little bit of cross hatching to kind of help smooth things out here. There we go. Yeah, of course, you're welcome. Let me go over here. Oh, okay, that's cool. I use my iPad too. I like to do a lot of mandalas and like I like to kind of like take pictures of things as well and try to like to challenge myself and incorporate those into new designs. I like doing a lot of I guess with the iPad it's kind of like endless. If we can kind of think it, there's probably a way that we can bring that thought to life with Procreate, which is something that I'm fond of. What kind of iPad or tablet is good enough to begin to use the same features as Procreate? I'm looking at buying a tablet to begin use it. I made a video recently about, I think it was something in correspondence. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was about Procreate. And I think someone asked if there was an Android alternative, like for tablets, and people stated that there was a couple of them, but they weren't close to Procreate. So if I had to recommend, maybe instead of getting a tablet, I would try to get like maybe a used iPad, like a older one, and then you can get Procreate on there with the Apple Pencil. I think that that may be the best way to go because then you would have full access to Procreate and all of its features, and you'd be able to kind of do almost anything you can think of essentially. It's probably the best way to go. But to answer your question, off the top, I don't know of any actual, like tablets or other programs that are alternative to Procreate. I haven't come across anything as powerful as Procreate. In my opinion, too, Procreate is probably just as powerful as Photoshop. I've used Photoshop quite a bit as well, and I feel like Procreate's much more easier to use. It's a little inconsistent there. Gotta slow it down. Yeah, I agree. Definitely get an iPad. It's definitely a better way to go. Tips on cross hatching and pendulum, trying out the shading style, but it's so hard to make it. So for me, I focus more a lot on my introduction, like how the needle introduces to the skin. So like, let me see if I can kind of demonstrate. So like when I shade with, especially with this small of a needle, and I'm using stippling, I try not to drive the needle and do this sort of like jerking motion. I try to have a sort of like swing to it. So, and then the fade out, that little whip out at the end is where the shading comes into play. And I'll work off just the very tip of the needle here. I'm mindful of the spacing in between each line that I create. I'm also mindful of how fast I'm moving because that determines the spacing between each dot. If you could align the spacings and your hand speed to your voltage, then you can start accomplishing cleaner uh, shading. It's just all these variables have to work together in one. So each time I do it, I have to move in cohesive, consistent motions as you see right here. Although they're not nearly perfect, but this is still going to yield me clean results. So what I'm saying is it's good enough. And Dennis, if you're still here, I genuinely appreciate your support, man. Thank you. And I think that maybe one more layer and I'll be just about ready to kind of continue up here. Use iPad 9 Gen is around 200 on Amazon. That's true. I was gonna ask if we can get a used one and what will the price ranges be. Let's see here. Definitely get an iPad. Smoothing coffee cake. Thank you, coffee cake tattoo. I appreciate that. That's genuinely what I'm trying to go for. Smooth and consistent. That's what I want this shading to reflect. So I appreciate that. Sketchpad 5150 says Sketchpad. I'm not sure what that is. It says a Sketchpad is good. You can use layers and stuff, just not as many brushes. Ah, okay. Does Sketchpad have different brushes? Like you can use like different tips? New artist here. Why does the ink splatter everywhere sometimes? What am I doing wrong there? It depends. There can be multiple reasons as to why you're experiencing a lot of ink splatter. It's hard to say. It can be anything from like high voltage. It can be maybe from too much pressure on the tip, too much ink in the cartridge. I don't really feel like I have the right answer because it can be a number of those things there. But some things that you want to look for if you are experiencing a lot of ink splatter is how much ink you're taking into your needle tip when you're going and dipping. You don't need to dip your whole plastic tip into the ink cap. You can just dip the very, very tip of the needle, like literally just the very tip metal part into the ink. And with the needle moving back and forth in, it's going to bring ink in there for you. That's one great way to prevent ink splatter. It could be, higher voltage. It really just depends. Maybe bad needles. What needles are you using and how fast are you running your voltage? The skins are much more forgiving than flesh, but I'm watching Apprentice. But I love watching apprentices doing it. Yeah, I would say so. Like for fake skin, although it is tougher to saturate, um, we can make more mistakes. So like if we're making more mistakes on human skin, we don't have nearly as many passes either. So I can see how it's more forgiving on multiple fronts. Hey, Sonny, thank you for joining, man. I appreciate you, Sonny. This is my second live. I'm not really used to all of this, so I'm trying to find my groove here, get a tempo going. Hope you're doing good, Sonny. I've been seeing your tattoos, man. You're getting better and better every time I see you. Right now, I'm just kind of using a little bit of pendulum motions here to kind of add the last layer that I want to add here. And I feel like I'm just about ready to kind of move on to this last area and kind of repeat this process again. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you, Sonny. It's actually a really good question on setting up lights. For me, I have actually four lights right now, so there's a lot of light around me. I think that's partially part of the reason why I was getting heated up because there are a lot of lights around me. And even when I tattoo, I really don't talk about that much, and I feel like this is an element that's kind of like underrated, is the lighting. I can't really necessarily commit to a tattoo, or let alone feel comfortable applying a tattoo if my lighting's not good. So I have to kind of, I really took my time to kind of figure that out. I tried various lights throughout my time, but right now I have four different lights set up around me to give us different, uh, you know, I guess lightings. But yeah, so you may want to try to get like maybe, I don't really like ring lights. I like lights that are like maybe more designed for tattooing, lights that are like bendable. You can probably like wrap them easily with like saran wrap and stuff like that. Nowadays too, with the market, there's lots of lights that are coming out. I could probably look for some. I'll place an order for some tattooing lights that are dedicated to tattooing, and then I'll bring an in-depth review on them. And you can get an off-brand Apple Pencil for $20. A good deal to me. That actually does sound like a good deal. If I can get an off-brand Apple Pencil for $20 and it works fine, then I would do that too. But in terms of, I got to touch base on that. In terms of setting up lights, if you're going, let's say if you're right-handed, then the camera would be on this side right here. Then you would want lights coming from this way to reflect this. You would want one from over as well, but if you put one over you, you're going to start casting shadows under your needle. So you're going to need a light coming from the left over here on this side, so that way you don't cast shadows and people can see the needle tip without the shadows. So maybe just like set one above and then two on the left side of you. If you're left-handed, put the camera on the right as well as the lights on the right side. You kind of get the idea there. That's how I set it up. Hey, you're welcome, Charles. Extreme brand needles and 10 volts. I'm getting ready for Anime Ink Con this week. It's my first con. I'm so excited. Hey, that's awesome. You're gonna be like tattooing there, Sonny? Like you're gonna be tattooing at the con? Yeah, man. I've been seeing a lot of your tattoos, man. I'm a big fan of the work that you've been doing. Anime Ink Con. That's cool. Yo, what city? Where is that located? Yeah, you're welcome, Dennis. Or Fudge. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and continue to add this last layer of dots right here, and then I'm gonna continue kind of working around. Um, in terms of Guy, in terms of causing problems with thin skin, I wouldn't worry too much about it. You may want to try various different skins so that way you can kind of learn to adapt to multiple skins. I think that probably may be the best way to kind of proceed front. So if you can probably find night dinner pad for this one. You got mine for 200 a couple months back and I absolutely love it. I wish I had. That's a good price though. That's still a good deal. And said you taper. I saw your most recent video and you said you taper interior lines so the ends are in both. Okay, so what I mean by that is whenever okay, so lines connect. For example, this line right here is connecting to this line. When I commit to this line here, this line was already existing. So what that means is if I abruptly introduce the needle into the skin and just, bring it flat into the skin like that, this area right here where the needle touched down is going to have a sort of round bulb point. And what that means is over the years, when it heals, the ink is going to spread because I introduced it straight away. The ink started depositing, all the way with the needle integrity. Now, what I do is I taper and ease into the line, and then I commit when I'm outside of this existing line. So, for example, if this was a full line weight the same size as this, I would taper in right here, and then right here I would commit to the line outside of this line just to avoid this area from spreading as it heals. And also, when we do that, when lines begin to connect, it makes these areas right here more prone to scarring and blowing out. So for me, that little variable tapering in and out each and every line is super important. Yeah, definitely, Dennis. You've been getting. I send the invitation. I didn't mean to send the invitation. That was my fault. You can just ignore that. But yes, I do know that you've been doing anime a lot lately. Whoever I sent the invitation to, you can kind of just ignore it. I apologize. I'm trying to learn how to use this. I didn't mean to send the invite. Yes, and you've been improving tremendously as well. I've been fascinated with your shading as of lately, Dennis. It's been on point. It's really inspiring because every time you show me your new anime style tattoos, it makes me want to get more into anime. And I see tattoos like Sunny as well. Sunny would do like little Kirby's as well with like color stuff going on as well. That's inspiring. I'm not big on color, and it's kind of like sometimes I guess not something that I'm drawn to the same way that I am with like heavy line weights and mandalas, but to each their own. But it's definitely something that I'm interested in. I do watching others do it. Yeah, right, Dennis. Sunny is good. It's in Richmond, Virginia. Oh, okay, that's cool. Man, that's dope, man. And it's crazy because going from where I met Sunny, where he was at, to where he's at now, it's tremendous progress. Sunny has made tremendous progress in a short amount of time. Dennis as well. Dennis has improved in a short amount of time tremendously as well. Hey, thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. The transition between the two lines, the end of the beginning, if you don't take creates a blob. AS, and that's exactly true. That's exactly true, Charles. Me personally, I experienced that the hard way. I don't. Uh, it's basically something that I regret not knowing earlier on. So that tapering in and out is something that I'll exhaust in the videos whenever I can. ASDF, hey man, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for the feedback and thank you for joining. I'm great. I'm grateful for your time and support here. Everyone else who is joined, I'm genuinely grateful for your time and support. It really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate you all sticking around. Again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. I'll do my best to assist there. I'm going to go ahead and kind of continue this last area here, and then I may end up concluding the video or the live stream there. So I'm going to begin with applying the layer of dots in a 5-point manner here, like so. A couple of spots there that I want to go back and touch up. So that's the first layer of dots that I placed down. Place some ointment to remove and see what I'm working with. Now the areas that are like real sparse and open, I'm going to go ahead and manually just apply some dots into those areas to kind of fill it in a little bit more. Hey, absolutely, Sonny. I always appreciate your support, man. It's always good to talk to you as well, man. Yo, Sonny, are you at a shop or are you private? So I feel like that's a pretty good foundation to work off of, and then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of taper that way, so to speak, and then kind of work the same way, pretty much the exact same thing as I have been. Yeah, absolutely, Sonny. I appreciate you joining, man. Thank you. You have a good night, man. In terms of like clientele, from here, I'm gonna kind of establish where I want the darkest point, and it's gonna be here. And to do that, I'm just gonna use a series of whip motions, being mindful of the spacing in between each line and the spacing in between each dot that I'm creating within those lines. And then once I get a smaller layer, I'll go ahead and bring out longer strokes to bring this shade more out this way. Just like that. And I'll go ahead and dab and then wipe away the excess ink there. Hey Joe, I appreciate the follow. Thank you very much. That's what's good. Needle depth and voltage setting. Uh, this is the hang or the needle depth, the setting that I'm using, the hang, and my voltage is at 5 volts even. That's what I've been running this entire session here for the dot work. I have a question actually. Can you show the fake skin close up? Have trouble figuring out if I've overworked the skin or not. I pull a 5 round line and the line either too thin or cut through the fake skin. Yeah, of course. I can go ahead and do that here in a moment. I'll show you close up. I was actually going to show close up when I was going to conclude the video, so I'll definitely do that. In terms of fake skins being cut, it really just depends, because the thing we have to remember with fake skin is that fake skin is non-comparable to human skin, and fake skin doesn't heal. So that means whenever we apply a line, regardless of the application, to some extent we did cut it. So it's not going to heal and it's not going to close because they're typically silicone or rubber. So um, I actually have a video about this, knowing if we're overworking our fake skin. It's actually on my YouTube channel. If you go to the video section and type in overwork fake skin or overwork or something to this extent, you can find this video. But every fake skin is a little bit different. Some fake skins are a little bit more tougher and kind of have a sort of crumble effect when the needle is introduced to that fake skin, while other fake skins are softer and have a sort of like effect where when you pull them you can see the lines scatter. So every fake skin is different though. I've never seen one behave, and I've never seen one behave like human skin as well. So to a certain extent you're going to experience cutting, but if you feel like it's excessive, then it may be excessive. It just really depends though on the artist and their application. It's hard to say without seeing like the actual application process. But yeah, bear with me, I'll definitely show you close up here. I'm purchasing my first tattoo. Hey, that's awesome to hear. I'm glad that I'm able to inspire you in those sort of directions. If you ever have any questions or anything, please feel free to let me know. I also have a Patreon where I do step-by-step follow-alongs. You get free the tattoo stencils to follow along with me, and also you can ask like unlimited questions that kind of be tailored to your wants and needs as the artist. It's on my Patreon at patreon.com/Daniel Yuck. You may want to check that out, Monarch, if that's something that you may be interested in. I'm excited for you. That is definitely an exciting feeling. I still remember when I was there too, getting all of my gear ready, creating my PDFs and what I wanted out of my gear, all of that. So I can relate to what you feel. I'm excited for you and I'm happy for you. Just stick with it. It's a slow burn process. There'll be a lot of ups and downs, but in the end, it's worth it, I feel. 5 volts, not 9.9 wood. Yeah, 5 volts even. I'm still running strong here. I got 3 cells on this battery still, so I still have some time to work with this machine here. It says here, what do you do to prep the skin? Nothing really. So like when I'm going to apply the stencil to the fake skin, I just simply get some alcohol, clean it all down, make sure there's no oils or anything on there, and then from there I'll go ahead and make sure it's all nice and dry. Once the skin's dry, I will apply the green card stencil applicant in a manner that doesn't make the stencil bleed, like a thin layer, and then just apply the stencil. So there's not really much prepping going on when it comes to fake skin. When it comes to human skin, I'll do the whole shaving, and then if I have to, that's necessary. Sometimes the clients will do that, or I will clean the area with alcohol as well. Basically, kind of like disinfect the site that I'm going to be tattooing. If the client needs numbing cream, then I'll go ahead and do that. I'm not sure though if I'm going to use numbing cream throughout the entire course of my tattooing career. We'll see what happens, and I'll let you all know for sure. So I feel like this is coming out nice and clean. Everything's going well. Yeah, I like real skin. Real skin is nice. True skin's cool. I think what I like about this is the size and how it's a torso size. It is a bit more tougher to work with, but there's multiple, I guess, aspects that I'm able to, I guess, learn along the way. So I'm definitely not mad at it. I'm appreciative that it's coming out this nice and this clean, and I'm grateful that you all are here to watch me do this. So that's cool too. But all in all, I would probably prefer this to be like in a real skin format where it's kind of nice and soft. I do like the real skin 2D arm. That's probably one of my favorite things I've ever tattooed is the flat arm from real skin. Hey Rocco, I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you. Hey Matthew, I could definitely do something like that, kind of combining it because I don't really do like realism specific, but I can do a sort of style that I have when I would take on a sort of portrait style tattoo. I do have some sort of concepts in mind that I've been wanting to do. So that's something I could probably do here in the near future. So these are also gonna go with dot work and shading along with the other one. And then I'm also going to do one last layer here with just longer consistent strokes like this. There we go. Yeah, I like that. So I think that that's done. I'm gonna go ahead and do these little 2 parts and then kind of continue. Johansson, I'm not sure if I mispronounced that. Thank you very much. I appreciate the kind feedback. When I try wiping face skin and smudges, do you know why? It could be because there may not be any ointment to help the ink lift off from the fake skin. It could be the fake skin type that you're using. There's actually multiple reasons. It's hard to say. Like, for example, if I were to get a little bit of ink and kind of like, let me see here, 1 second. If I were to get some ink right here and I place it right here and I smudge it like that, there's no ointment, so therefore I'm getting these sort of smudges. But once I get a little bit of ointment and I place it on there, you can see the ointment lifts the fake skin. I'm sorry, the ink smudges from the fake skin, and I could just simply wipe away. So it could be just because the fake skin that you're tattooing on doesn't have any sort of ointment, and when the ink gets on dry fake skin, it kind of just binds to it. That could be what you're experiencing. Hey Joe, I'm grateful that I'm able to help you along the way. Right now I'm using True Skin Fake Skin. That's what I'm using for this right here. Oh, young JG, that's awesome. How does it feel to pick up your machine after so long? Frankie Pisano, you can get this fake skin on Amazon. I've actually done an in-depth review on this in case you want to check it out, know more about it, see it up close. If you go to my YouTube channel and you type in True Skin Fake Skin Torso or True Skin Torso, this video review will pop up. I also have the links in that description. Or you could just go to Amazon and type in True Skin Torso Fake Skin Tattoo or something to that extent, and you'll see this pop up. I do have a full in-depth review though available on my YouTube channel in case you want to check it out on this exact fake skin right here. So I have the first couple of layers there with dots, and I'm going to continue to build up. You're welcome, Rocco. Hey, Monarch, feel free, yeah. You can go ahead and submit them on IG. I will go ahead and get to that as soon as possible. So essentially I'm applying dots. I'm repeating the process but just on a smaller scale. I've applied dots, now I'm just using a small series of whip motions to create a gradual shade here. Keeping the same fundamentals, hand speed to voltage matched. Bit of cross hatching. Let's go ahead and dab away and put some ointment to see the results. Okay, and it's coming along. I think maybe one more layer for each and then I can kind of move on here. Okay, I love the way that this is reading here. There can be a lot of improvements in different places, but as of now, it's definitely coming along. I'm going to get a little bit of ointment and kind of clean it up, and I can give you a close-up look at this. It's definitely not by any means perfect. Till this day, I've never done a perfect tattoo. So not by any means perfect, but I'm definitely loving the way that it's reading. It's coming out pretty good here. Let me go ahead and clean this up though. That's good. I'm glad. It can be really tough sometimes too, especially like when we're trying to improve and we're not seeing like any sort of progression. It can definitely be like mentally and emotionally draining. Hey, I'm glad that I can help you, Frankie. I'm grateful. That's awesome. All right, so we got that cleaned up. Let me go ahead and try to give you all a close-up view here. So this is what I have so far. I'm not sure if it's easy to see. My phone's like really low in brightness, so I can't really see much. But this is what I am working with as of right now. I'm not sure if it blurs when I get really close. But this is what I'm working with close up. Still needs a long way to go. It'll probably take about another 2 years to complete this. But but it's coming out nice and clean and I love the way that it's reading. that's basically where I am at right now. I appreciate the kind feedback. Thank you. So we can give you another look here. And those on the Tic Tac, I'll give you all a view here shortly. So this is what it looks like close up. That's that tattoo that I'm working on right there. Um, I don't have a specific time when I'm going to be done with it, but I definitely will be working on it here. Now, I feel like this will be a good place to conclude this video. Let me show people on the Tic Tac real quick what we have here. So this is what we are working with. This is a top view. I feel like this is a good live stream, and this is a great place to kind of conclude this live stream. I'm going to go ahead and announce some more live streams. We're going to be doing live tattoos together. We'll be doing like live follow-alongs. We'll also be doing, I'll do Q&A where I kind of like answer questions if you have any. A lot of things like that. So I do have some more live events planned for this. It won't just be me endlessly tattooing and kind of just ranting the whole way. But this is basically where I'm at with this design. Still needs a ways to go, but we're definitely making progress. Now, those who are still watching and those who joined and stayed along, I appreciate it. The support means everything to me. I am genuinely grateful for your time and your support. When I say that I'm grateful and I appreciate you, I really mean that. I'm genuinely appreciative of you. I'm appreciative of your time and I'm appreciative of your support. Now, if you have any questions after this live here, feel free to drop it in the comment section of this live video. Don't forget to subscribe, ring my bell. I appreciate each and every one of you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Everyone have a good day.